July 25th, 2012, Wednesday. Midas had let everyone know that today is the day they do K-Tag. Alpha instructors were pretty good at keeping secrets, so during breakfast no one could figure out what K-Tag was. But the students knew today was that, secrets training and whatever else Miss Hanson had in store for them. If I won't accidentally transform things anymore, do I still need to be here? Midas thought. Don't you want to be a superhero? Zoner asked him. I.Q., Port, and Jack were sitting close enough to hear this. Do you always read minds? Midas asked her. It's like hearing. Sometimes you just overhear stuff, Zoner said. You have a killer power. You're way past 10 plus. Why wouldn't you want to be a superhero? I.Q. asked. Jack and Port looked at him like he was a shoplifter. Look, this school is great. I just never thought I would be a superhero. I thought I would be an architect like my father. My main reason for coming here was to keep my power from accidentally hurting someone. You mean you want to go home? Port asked. No, I didn't say that. I didn't say anything. She was listening to my private thoughts, Midas said, pointing at Zoner. You're questioning your being here. I'm trying to help you, Zoner said. Aside from being smart, I don't have any powers. You will have the chance to really help people, I.Q. said. Pick on Midas' day is officially over. Now let me finish my breakfast. And for the record, I wasn't thinking about quitting. I was wondering if I still needed training to keep from accidentally hurting someone, Midas said. With that, they finished breakfast and waited for their day to begin. Good morning, Alphas. Today, I am no longer Miss Hanson. I am Coach Hanson. You will follow me. Coach Hanson turned and led them out of the hotel. The hotel was at the south side of the complex. Further south was desert. They walked north down a walkway that split the campus into two halves. After 10 minutes of walking, they started to leave the buildings behind, and their walk took them into a beautiful park. The park even seemed to be split into two halves, both identical. Another 10 minutes, and the group left the park behind and entered what Coach Hanson called the training grounds. The training grounds didn't look like much, just the back side of the concrete bleacher section. The kids wanted to run up and see what kind of field the bleachers looked at. Once they walked through the bleachers, they saw the training grounds. In front of them was a huge depression, like the kind made by strip mining. In the distance, past the giant hole, they could see military vehicles, aircraft, a mock town, and a stone castle. The view before the children made them speechless. While looking out in the distance at the wonders of the training grounds, they barely noticed the large bleachers on either side of them. In front of you is the pit. It's 400 feet by 200 feet and 30 feet deep. You will be spending a great deal of time training here, Coach Hanson said as they all went out to look at the dirty arena. Boulders and other stones were embedded into the walls to keep the dirt and clay from collapsing. The floor of the pit looked like white gravel. Midas noticed with his near-miss eyes that some of the boulders were cracked and had pieces shattered off. Is this where we do K-Tag? It can be, but not today. Gentlemen, Coach Hanson said loudly. A dozen techs started walking out from the dugouts. These men will outfit you with a red harness. For the next few minutes, one tech started helping each student put what looked like a red skydiver's harness on. Instead of a parachute, each harness had several sensors all throughout. The harness fit neatly onto the grays. The children learned what all the extra straps and buckles were for. Once on, the techs started calling out things that meant little to the children, like harness 4 up, harness 4 check, harness 4 diag, harness 4 diag good, harness 4 is hot, harness 4 checks is hot, and on it went. And just when it seemed like it was done, the tech switched subjects and did it all over again. After 20 minutes of harnessing and checking, one of the techs told the coach that they were all good to go. Outstanding! Can I please have a K-gun? She said. The two techs then brought out a locked storage box. Once open, they handed Coach a futuristic-looking short rifle. This is a K-gun, and we do not do K-Tag, we play K-Tag. I need a volunteer. Port stepped up quickly. Good, stand over here. Coach motioned for him to stand farther away. K-Tag is like laser tag. This is how it works. She lowered the K-gun at Port and fired. Just as a clear, transparent blue stream struck Port in the chest, there was a silvery flash. Port was no longer there. Where did he go? I.Q. asked. I did not expect that, said Port with a Spanish accent as he came from the dugout behind them. He was teleported. The harness you're wearing feeds your vitals back to a main computer. This computer is very special. It sends information back in time. Not a lot. The temporal circuits can only send it back a few fractions of a second, but enough to save Port's life, Coach said. Save my life? How? Coach Hansen aimed the K-gun into the pit and at the boulders on the other side. She then fired and shattered off a piece of rock over a foot long. K-gun is slang for kinetic force gun. For training like this, we routinely tune these guns to strike with the same force as a car hitting at 60 miles an hour. Your red harness will save your lives again and again. You trust these things that much? Said Hollow. The system is quadruple redundant with multiple human checks. We have never lost a student. Everyone come up and get a K-gun, Coach said. Everyone lined up and was issued a K-gun of their very own. I don't see a safety, just a trigger and controls on the site, IQ said. The safety is controlled in the dugouts. Your red harness is active when you put it on. Your weapon is only active when you are in a designated area and you are in play in a game, Coach Hansen said. Midas looked down at the short rifle and asked, What does this have to do with being a superhero? Good question, said Coach. You need to learn tactics and teamwork. You especially need to know how the red harness works. If your red harness is activated, you are then considered red benched or just benched. The two terms both mean the same thing. Benched usually means you're out of the game. Today, being benched means you have to run back to the town. Coach Hansen then moved between the students and the path to the town. Rules for your first game are simple. Number 1, no powers. Number 2, if struck, you must return to town as soon as you can. Number 3, your K-gun will not be active until you cross the red line into the town. And number 4, you have no allies for the first game. Your score counts. She held up a hand. Go! She screamed and dropped her arm. Everyone started running the half-mile toward the town. Midas and Jack immediately pulled ahead of the others. She must have near-miss attributes, Midas thought. Halfway there, she had to slow down. Her endurance must not match her speed. Midas thought about how he was going to get his score as high as he could. Jack is too far behind, Midas thought, and Port is gaining on her. Midas started to fake getting tired from the fast run to let them get closer. He wanted her to only be 30 to 50 feet behind him when he crossed the red line he could now see ahead. Jack, seeing Midas slow down, started to speed up to catch him. Midas' plan was to wait until she came within 30 feet. Then he would sprint fast across the red line and spin around to shoot. Jack tried to get her tired legs to move faster. She knew she was now in a bad spot. Once Midas crossed the red line, his K-gun would be active and hers would still be deactivated, and Port was on her heels. She watched Midas look behind him and perk up like he was still fresh. It's a trap, she thought. Midas spun around and shot her straight in the torso. Instantly, she was back in the dugout, standing in a large room with a red floor and red benches along the walls. Outside of the dugout, she saw Coach Hansen putting on a red harness. Red bench so soon? Midas beat me to town and shot me before my K-gun would work, Jack said. Then Port came out of the dugout. He's a near miss, a perfect near miss, like the ones the Americans tried to manufacture as super soldiers 70 or 80 years ago. Others then stayed in the dugout. Let me guess, a little boy with exceptional eyesight and reflexes is sniping you off before you can get in the town. How do we even get in the game? Asked Jack. He can't be everywhere. We break into groups, and we come into town from different sides. Some of us are bound to get in and have our K-guns become active, said IQ. The last of the 9 red bench children came out and joined the effort to take the town from Midas. IQ asked a series of quick, to-the-point questions and instantly came up with a plan. IQ then gave the strategy. Port and Zoner, you both have good endurance. You run around the town and come in from behind on the north side. Armory and I will come in from the east. Not everyone knows directions from here, Coach Hansen said as she started walking to the town.